Alright, so once again, here we have the bouncing ball, and now I set up a little obstacle course for my bouncing ball to go through. Um, I want to take these objects off. This is more for the advanced users if you want to use something more advanced. I want to take this off for demonstration purposes. I have them both in layers, playset advanced and regular playset, which is these two obstacles right here. Try to keep this framing. So with this, your outlook and your follow through or your follow through, your workflow is going to have to change just a tad bit to sort of manage everything that's going to happen. So off the back, I'm going to try to keep this within 60 frames, but I'm still going to have minimum bounces. I'm going to have my object basically roll off of here, bounce once or twice, hit off the wall, and then bounce again and sort of come to a stop. The only difference is with this one is before, I just worked on the bouncing first, and then I threw in translation to make it move forward a little bit later. Here, you're going to have to sort of plan everything out almost all at once. But first, you're still going to work with just a translation. You're not going to worry about rotation or even the squash and stretch at some point. I just want to keep it simple. You know what frame 0 is going to start here. I'm going to say at frame 14, place them down here, and it sort of does this little thing here. Frame 7, have it come up and then sort of drop. Then when it hits here, it's going to do like your normal bounce. I'm going to give it about 10 frames or so. So it's coming down, it's hitting, it's bouncing again, and this time the next bounce is actually going to hit the wall. Right here, some bounce. I'll put it at about frame 34. It's going to hit here, then it's going to bounce back off the wall. Oops. Bounce here, have it come to a stop about right there. Do a small bounce in between. Maybe I may need some more frames, but this is like a quick rundown of how it's going to sort of start. Just trying to get this thing started. So what I want to do is I want to work my translation first, and then try to sort of map out where my ball is going to go. And then with that, I want to go up and clean sort of everything, how it's coming in and how it's bouncing, clean up my curves and everything else. But instead of having it jump off of here, I'm going to sort of have it fall off screen. So from this point, I'm just going to copy that frame to frame 0, sort of take it off screen. Just have it sort of come off screen and sort of bounce. Now some of the things, same rules apply. I want to jump into my graph editor. This panel at my side view or the graphic side. That's what I'm working from. So I want to sort of work on my bounce first. Now keep in mind that my squash and stretch is not in here, and it may take a few tries to put that in a little bit later. But first, I just want to focus on the actual the bounce of the ball. And you notice like this one's up here because this is where it actually hits the wall. So now I'm starting to get a little bit of what I desire out of the ball. Now the other tricky part now is I want to start my translation, which is on Z. And you can see how it sort of, there's keys everywhere and it sort of flows whichever way. This gets a little bit tricky. The key things to keep in mind is as the ball falls, and at each point is basically where it's going to be hitting. It's sort of hitting its peak as well. So one thing you can do is every time it touches the ground, leave that key there, but delete the key in between it. So I'm going to see next time it touches here. So I'm going to delete this key in between it. It's in the air, but then it touches here, so I'm going to delete this key in between it. Then it bounces up here, and it comes down here. Say I delete this key right here, and it sort of moves. And sort of see how it sort of plays and sort of get a feel for how it's sort of looking. rid of this grid. All right, now that I'm at that part, obviously I still need more cleaning to do, and I want to take a quick cut here and clean this up, and I'll come right back. All right, so I made my quick cleanups. I adjusted my Z, which is my translation, back and forth a little bit. Some key things here at the bounce. One of the bounces, I believe it's the second one right in here, or basically off the wall. I sort of did the V shape that we normally talk about with the Y translation when you're bouncing, when it's hitting, going up and down. I did that because it's hitting the wall, and I sort of wanted to bounce off pretty quick, like a quick bounce off of it, so it reacts pretty fast. So I got that, and now that I got my bouncing in, the next step for me for this is placing in my rotation. Now rotation is going to be pretty. It's not going to be overall tricky, but it's going to be something that you want to keep in mind as you're doing this, because there's several ways this rig actually works. So let's jump into the rig a little bit. Got to go to perspective view to sort of see what to get all the controllers. So with this rig, you can select the red controller, and it will just rotate just the actual graphic itself, or you can select the blue controller, and it sort of rotates that and the squash and stretch. Now the things you need to watch out for is rotating, or my bad, one more option here. You got this option, which just rotates the squash and stretch, and not the actual texture in the ball. So there's multiple ways to rotate. The one way you want to actually rotate is you want to rotate the red, the texture, and then the controller. I forgot what the name of this one is. It was the deform controller. You want to rotate those two separately. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate our. It's like either or. I want to do the rotation first, and then I'll do the squash and stretch a little bit later. So let's go back. One thing also that I'll have to probably break through and make another video of is selections. Like I have obviously I have different controllers I can select, but in my side view I can't see all my controllers. I can't see the red one, and it's hard to see this one, especially the red one, because it's got the blue and the yellow one that you'll sort of looks like a straight line. There's several ways to get around that, which you can make buttons on a shelf that you can click that will able to select those, but I'll have a different video for that a little bit later. Let's move on to actually get this boy animated. Alright, so one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to my 4-view panel and just utilize, normally I have 2 screens, I have 2 different monitors, but I'm going to utilize this one so I can sort of go back and forth and select my controllers. So here's the bounce. I want to add my rotation in for the actual texture, which will make the ball look like it's rotating. So I'm going to go ahead and select my red controller. Since it's selected, I'm just going to keep that selected. So as my ball is coming down, it's going to hit here, and I just want to set a key there. But at that key, I'm just going to rotate it about this much. So it looks like it's falling and it's rotating. You can rotate it more if you want. But one thing I'm going to do is once the ball hits, comes to here, I'm just going to set a key there just for reference. But once the ball hits, I want to have it spin like a little bit faster at frame. So it's come down, then it hits. Now to copy that frame, middle mouse, select the next keyframe, and then I'm just going to move it just a little bit. So it feels like it spins fast and it slows down. Then when it hits again, the same thing. It's going to spin semi-fast until it hits here. I'll spin a little bit more. But when it hits here, since this one's changing direction, I'm going to have the rotation of the ball also change direction. Oops. But then now after it's bounced this way and changed directions, I'm going to have it continue to move in that same direction. then add the rotation in as it rolls a little bit more, and just adjust that. Best way to do that is they place your finger here or an object here, and then move it, and then try to rotate it, and just keep going back and forth to where it looks like it's actually rotating and it's not sliding. So now I got the rotation in with the bounce, and you can see there's some adjustment that still needs to be done towards the end here, that last little bounce, and I think that's actually on my main controller. Let's jump to my graph editor here. Go back to my side up here, orthographic side. Yeah. So I want to have my very last control. I want to have this a little bit come into here.